Before we begin our journey today, take a long, quiet moment to find your center. Adjust your position. If you are lying down, feel the bed rising up to meet you. Feel your heels sinking, your calves, your lower back. If you feel any tension in your shoulders, let it dissolve now. Let it melt away like mist in the morning sun. There is nothing you need to hold on to. There is nowhere else you need to be. Take a breath. Feel the cool air enter your nostrils. Hold it for a second and release it slowly, again, in and out. Today, we are leaving the world of clocks and schedules behind. We are traveling to a place where time is measured only by the beating of a heart, a place of vast skies and golden plains. We are going to live a day in the life of a family of elephants, and in the center of this family is a young calf named Nilah. Today is not a day for rushing. It is a day that moves with the weight of the earth itself. The air is a little drier. The shadows are a little deeper. And everything is very, very quiet. Close your eyes. Listen. The Savanna is waiting for you. The new day begins not with a sound, but with a blanket of silence. A silence so thick, it feels as though the world is holding its breath. Today, the air holds a different quality. If you were there, standing in the tall grass, you would notice it immediately. The air feels drier than usual. It has a crisp, hollow texture. The kind of dryness that you can feel the moment you breathe in. A slight tickle in the throat, a scent of ancient powdered stone. The sun has risen just above the silhouette of the acacia trees. It is not a bright yellow sun yet. It is a pale, translucent gold. The light stretches across the cracked earth in long, thin fingers. It touches the gray, wrinkled backs of the elephants, bringing a gentle, flickering warmth. It is not hot yet. It is just a suggestion of heat. Nilah stands in the heart of the herd. She is small, her skin a lighter shade of gray than the elders. She feels the ground beneath her feet. The soil still holds the deep, lingering coolness of the night before. But the moisture, the heavy dew that usually clings to the grass, is gone. It has vanished quickly today, pulled into the dry sky before the birds even began to sing. The space around the elephants is truly deeply quiet. There is no rustling of leaves, no snap of a twig. Only occasionally, there is a very soft, muffled crunching sound. It is the sound of a giant foot lifting, hanging in the air for a long second, and placing back down on the fine, dusty soil. Thud. A sound that is deep, dull, and strangely soothing. The herd seems to sense this dryness. Usually there is a low rumble of communication, a greeting for the day. But today, they are still. They stand closer together than they did yesterday. The connection between them is tight, wordless. No one drifts away to explore. No one rushes toward the horizon. At the very front, the matriarch stands like a stone statue carved from the earth itself. She makes no call. She does not move her head. Her eyes are half closed, hidden behind long, thick lashes. It is as if she is listening to the wind that hasn't arrived yet, as if she is feeling the moisture evaporating from the very pores of the earth. Her large, tattered ears sway, very, very slowly, back and forth, back and forth. The rhythm is steady, like the swing of an old pendulum clock in a quiet house. Each sway creates a tiny, invisible current of air, just enough to cool the wrinkled skin behind her neck, just enough to let the others know she is awake. Nilah watches that movement. She watches the way the light catches the frayed edges of the matriarch's ears. She feels the urge to stay close. She leans her small body against her mother's leg. The skin is rough like sandpaper, but it is warm and firm. The sun climbs an inch higher. The shadows on the ground begin to shift, shortening ever so slightly. Tiny specks of dust begin to dance in the slanted rays of light. They drift in the still air, swirling in slow, lazy circles. Nilah watches a single speck as it floats toward her. It moves up, then down, and finally settles gently on her thick gray skin. Everything unfolds with a lazy, deliberate rhythm. Nothing is hurried. Nothing is urgent. There is only the dry air, the pale light, and the peaceful breathing of the giants. As the morning deepens, the heat begins to settle on the savanna like a soft, heavy coat. The awakening of the herd is not a sudden event. It is a slow unfolding like a flower opening in slow motion. Nilah remains tucked away. Her mother's massive body creates a perfect sanctuary of shadow. This shadow is Nilah's whole world right now. Inside this patch of shade, the air is noticeably cooler. It is pleasant. It smells of the musk of the herd, the scent of dry earth, and the sweet, fading aroma of the grass they ate the night before. It is the scent of safety. Nilah rests her head gently against her mother's knee. She feels the solid muscle beneath the skin. Her mother does not move a muscle. She remains solid like a mountain, shielding her child from the growing brightness of the world outside. Occasionally, the mother elephant's trunk moves. It doesn't reach for food. It just brushes almost accidentally against Nilah's back. It is a fleeting touch, very soft. a reminder of a presence that never leaves. A few feet away, an older cousin shifts his weight. The movement is so slow it is almost invisible. First, the tension leaves his front leg. Then his hip lowers by an inch. Finally, his large head bows his tusks, pointing toward the dust. He is not going back to sleep. He is simply existing in a state of deep, waking meditation. The dryness in the air makes every sound clearer, yet more distant. The far-off call of a bird sounds like a whisper. The sound of another elephant breathing is like the ocean tide coming in and out, in, out, in, out. Nilah closes her eyes for a moment. Even with her eyes closed, she can see the brightness of the sun through her eyelids. A soft, reddish glow. But here in the shadow of her mother, the glow is dim and gray. She feels a fly land on her ear. She doesn't shake it off. She doesn't have the energy to be bothered by it. She simply feels the tiny prickling sensation of its feet on her skin. Eventually, the fly moves on, drifting away into the heat. The matriarch finally turns her head. The movement takes several seconds. She looks toward a distant grove of trees barely visible in the shimmering heat haze. She is thinking. She is calculating the dryness of the air. She is feeling the thirst in her throat, though she doesn't show it. The herd waits for her signal. They don't look at her, but they are all connected to her by an invisible thread. They wait in the stillness. They wait in the dry heat. Nilah shifts her feet, feeling the dust puff up between her toes. It feels like silk. Warm, dry silk. The world is wide. The world is hot. But for Nilah, the world is just the space between her mother's legs. And that is enough. Finally, the matriarch makes her decision. She does not call out, nor is there a loud signal. She simply shifts her massive weight toward the hazy trees on the horizon, a subtle change in gravity felt by the entire herd through the vibrations of the dry earth. The journey begins. It is not a march, but a slow drifting of gray stones across the plains. Every step is a meticulous process. Nilah watches her mother's front foot lift. First, the heel leaves the dust, creating a tiny hollow suction sound in the dry air. Then each giant toe rises, carrying a few grains of sand caught in the deep wrinkles of her skin. The foot hangs suspended in the air for a heartbeat, as if she is testing the current of the wind, before settling back down onto the cracked ground. Thud. A deep, muffled sound that is instantly swallowed by the stillness. A cloud of fine dust rises swirling around her mother's ankle before lazily settling onto the coarse hair of Nilah's own legs. Nilah walks directly beneath her mother's belly. Here her world is framed by 4 sturdy pillars. She looks down at the ground. Today, the earth has lost the elasticity of the rainy days. It is hard and brittle. Each tuft of dry grass snaps under the weight of the herd, making tiny crackling sounds like a dying fire. They stop many times. With every pause, Nilah feels the heat rising from the soil brushing against her belly. The matriarch stops under a withered acacia tree. She reaches out with her trunk and touches a branch. She does not pull at first. She uses the sensitive hairs at the tip of her trunk to feel the texture of the bark. It is rough, jagged, and entirely devoid of moisture. She strips a piece of bark very slowly. The sound of it tearing lingers in the quiet air. Snap. Strip. The sound of the herd chewing then becomes a steady rhythmic grind. Crunch. Crunch. It is like wooden gears turning against each other, a soothing sound that makes Nilah feel heavy-eyed even as she walks. The sunlight has become a wall of invisible pressure. Nilah sees the air begin to tremble above the horizon. The distant trees seem to be melting in the heat haze. But within her mother's shadow, everything remains stable. Nilah focuses only on the rhythm of the steps. Left, right, stop, and begin again. As the sun reaches its peak, the herd gathers into a single massive gray silhouette. The distance between the adults shrinks to a minimum. Shoulder touches shoulder. Hip leans against hip. Nilah feels herself tucked away in a labyrinth of warm walls. The heat from her mother, her aunts, and her siblings blends together. It is a comforting warmth, the heat of family, different from the harsh, stinging bite of the sun outside. The elders stand so still they look like boulders that have existed for 1,000 years. Only the ears move occasionally. A sway of her mother's ear brushes against Nilah's forehead. It is like a large hand fan bringing a tiny current of air and the familiar scent of elephant skin and trail dust. Nilah looks at another calf standing opposite her. Normally, they would intertwine trunks, wrestling and playing. But today they only look at each other with half-closed eyes. Her friend reaches out a trunk, gently touching the tip of Nilah's. A wordless greeting. They stand there, trunks lightly entwined, feeling the pulse of blood beneath the thin skin. In this silence, Nilah begins to hear the internal sounds of the herd. The deep gurgle of her mother's stomach, slow and resonant. The sound of deep, steady breathing creates a hum like the distant tide of an ocean. Inhale, exhale. A massive rhythm that blankets Nilah's mind. Her mother shifts her back leg slightly. She uses her trunk to scoop up a bit of dry soil and tosses it gently over her back. Tiny specks of dust fall onto Nilah like a soft rain. They settle into the wrinkles of her skin, creating a cool, protective layer. Nilah loves the feel of this dust. It is fine and gentle. She leans her entire body against her mother's leg. Nilah's weight is nothing to her mother, but she responds by leaning back just enough to provide a firm anchor. This interaction happens in total silence. No rumbles, no calls. Only presence, only warmth, and total safety within the dry day. As the sun begins to lean toward the horizon, the world stops being bright and turns into a thick, heavy amber. The light is no longer sharp. It becomes golden and mellow, draping over the elephants' backs like a soft robe. The herd comes to a full stop in an open clearing where the shadows of the acacia trees stretch out thin and dark. At this hour, all movement nearly ceases. Nilah feels the shift in the temperature. The dry heat of the day is slowly being replaced by a cool breeze that weaves through her skin. The elders stand perfectly motionless. They are no longer chewing. They are no longer swaying. Their long trunks hang limp, the tips grazing the earth, feeling the last of the ground's warmth. The space is so quiet that Nilah can hear a single dry leaf falling from above. It hits the ground with a rustle as thin as a whisper. Nilah feels her legs becoming heavy. It is not a painful tiredness, but a graceful sinking. She looks out at the horizon where the last of the heat waves are vanishing. Everything is blurring. The trees, the grass, and even her family all become solid gray shapes of peace. Her mother moves her trunk. She strokes Nilah from the top of her head down to her small ears, a stroke that is long, slow, and protective. Nilah closes her eyes. Beneath her eyelids, the sunset glows like a soft purple aura. The world is shrinking, down to the beat of her mother's heart and the steady rhythm of her own breath. The sky is now a deep velvet indigo. The first stars appear distant and cold, but the herd keeps Nilah wrapped in a circle of warmth. The darkness does not fall like a curtain. It rises like cool water, slowly filling the space around them. The elephants huddle closer than ever. They form a fortress of skin and bone. In the center of this fortress, Nilah finds her place. She lies down. This is a very slow moment. First, her front knees kneel into the fine sand. Then her body tilts to the side. Soft thud. A gentle, familiar sound. The ground is now completely cool. Nilah smells the scent of the night, a clean fragrance mixed with the faint dampness rising from deep within the earth. There is no more wind, no more footsteps, only the sound of the dark. Around Nilah, the giants remain standing, They sleep on their feet like pillars guarding the dreams of their young. Occasionally, a low rumble vibrates from her mother's chest. It is an ultra-low frequency, a vibration that travels through the earth, through Nilah's body, cradling her soul. Nilah can no longer see. Sleep comes like a great slow wave impossible to resist. Every thought vanishes. Every sensation of the dry day fades away. Now there is only safety, only the gentle dark, and a deep, dreamless sleep. Under the wide, silent sky of Africa, Nilah has fallen asleep, and so have you. Let your breath match the rhythm of the herd, slower, lighter, at peace. Good night.